election.
Actually, gas is down to $1.99 a gallon, thanks to
That
President
he didn't
Trump.
know Epstein.
Maybe $5 in California.
It's my time, Mr. Chair. That he sent water to LA during the wildfires, false. That Governor Westmore of Maryland called him the greatest president of his lifetime, false. So many tales, too many to keep up. But I want to go back to what he said about Tim Walz. Do you agree that President Trump undermined public trust in law enforcement by suggesting that Governor Walz was involved in the Hortman murders?
I am not familiar with that statement.
Well, that is a disappointing response, and it is also why your office and Donald Trump have zero credibility, because I know, and you know, it was a right-wing extremist who murdered the Hortmans. And you and the president are being dishonest with the American people. Last fall, after the horrific shooting of Charlie Kirk, President Trump was asked if there were extremists on both the left and the right. And his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy." Do you agree with this statement? You're taking too long, Madam Attorney General. But you know the answer, because your own department has addressed the question. In 24, the DOJ's research arm issued a report on domestic terrorism, stating that the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violence extremists. The DOJ published the report, and after the president made those comments, the DOJ took the report down. And I sent you a letter asking you a simple question. Why did the Justice Department remove the data that shows right-wing extremists have killed more innocent people than left-wing extremists?
Did you refer to immigration enforcement as domestic terrorism?
You should answer my question. Yes. You're on my time, but you won't. And what I am asking you to do is put the report back, restore the data. Stop scrubbing important data from your website. Stop taking down reports that you know the American people need to know about. There are violent, dangerous people out here with real threats, and the dishonesty from your agency comes from the covering up of these threats that could hurt American people and put our lives at risk. Do better. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chair.
The lady yields back. The gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
May I have one moment?
You may.
Her district includes Culver City, and she's not talking about any crime in her districts, nothing about helping crime in her district. She's not even worth getting into the details.
Well, thank you, Madam Attorney General, and we are grateful to have you here today. And let me just say that you've shown great perseverance today, and I think you're coming to the last lap here of those of us that are left, but I applaud your strength and I applaud your resolve. Madam Attorney General, as a pastor for over 37 years now, I take serious issue with any attempts by agitators to disrupt church services or activities at houses of worship. And I just want to take a moment to clarify some things. I realize you can't talk about pending cases per se, but I do want to ask some very general questions for clarification. Does the DOJ consider unauthorized entry into a house of worship to be protected activity under the First Amendment when undertaken by a member of the press?
Unauthorized with the intent of disrupting, yes.
Okay.
Even if it's a blogger like Don Lemon.
Correct. How does the DOJ distinguish between news gathering activity and expressive or protest conduct when a press defense is asserted?
Congressman, I met with the pastor of that church, and what happened there was horrific. Of course, the press is welcome, and I would hope all houses of worship, whether it's a synagogue, whether it's a church, any house of worship. However, what happened here is a pending case again, but within the four corners of the indictment, they were, quote, gearing up for a resistance. They entered a house of worship, and I think the video speaks for itself. What happened in there, what the video doesn't show, is there were approximately 400 parishioners in there on a Sunday morning. Families, grandparents with canes, children upstairs in Sunday school their parents were blocked from getting to them once this resistance took place, and they had named it Operation Pull-Up. It was heartbreaking for those families. They were terrified. I think they've all said that, and nothing like that should happen in this country, and under my watch, it won't.
Thank you. And just to clarify, accosting members of a congregation and creating a scene marked by intimidation and threat inside a house of worship would not be protected First Amendment activity, correct?
Absolutely not, and a grand jury has indicted individuals over that.
Thank you. One other question, just shifting a little bit. You know, my home state of North Carolina has been making national headlines at times, and particularly in the city of Charlotte. We've made pleas at times for our governor to get involved, bring in the National Guard. Our Fraternal Order of Police had pointed out that we were about 270 local cops below what we needed in order to adequately police the city. And yet the governor's declined to offer to partner with the federal government to bring in reinforcements to Charlotte. I want to give you just a few moments, really the balance of my time, to explain the impact that Memphis Safe Task Force has had on crime and safety in Memphis, because I know there was a place we saw that cooperation has tended to breed great results, and I would love to hear a little more about that.
Thank you. And I have numbers for you too. Well, and we're all right here in DC, we're all living right here in DC, and I think we've seen the remarkable impact that it has working with members of the Democrat Party on this, with law enforcement, with the mayor, with the police chief, doing everything we can to make DC safe. As of February 9th, there were nearly 10,000 arrests. This is DC. 1,000 illegal guns seized since the operation began, with carjackings down 81% from this time last year, and violent crime down 42%. DC is safer because of it. We know we had a National Guardsman shot, and we had a beautiful young woman killed. I went to her funeral, and I keep in touch with the National Guardsman who was shot, his parents. He's doing great. He's a miracle. Please continue to pray for him. I know my time is up, but same results I spoke about earlier in Memphis, and we're still working on that with the help of Make Memphis Safe Again.
Well, again, I think it just draws an incredible contrast between what we've seen happening in Minneapolis versus what we've seen happen in D.C., what we saw happen in Memphis, and what I would love to see in some ways, if we could ever get our governor to work with us in North Carolina, to happen in Charlotte. But with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you. I seek unanimous consent to introduce into the record the research that Representative Kamlager-Dove and I referenced concerning the threat of right-wing domestic terrorism, which the Department of Justice scrubbed from its website in September.
Without objection, the gentlelady from
Thank
Texas
you.
is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions. But instead, I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague, Becca Ballant, if she will answer: right or wrong, raping children?
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens?
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States?
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness, who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive, when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors, because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughingstock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter, so let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, this is a good one. Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up, and this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history, an attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized. Excuse me, gentleman from Kansas, the Attorney General, former Attorney General, Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General Bondi, thanks for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we talk?
I do. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions, because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted.
You know,
So what we
Estrada,
talking about? Convict some of these
convicted,
perpetrators that
homicide.
rape these women that are
Chairman,
sitting
time
behind you
time
that
belongs
you
to the
refuse
gentleman
to even
from
acknowledge
Kansas.
they are here.
Time belongs to the
Texas.
gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds back
bet,
to make
you
up
bet.
for the yelling?
This
Thank
is
you.
embarrassing.
General,
Thank
did you have
you,
anything
Congress.
further to say?
Texas, convicted of homicide. Cecil Joseph from Dominican Republic. Texas, convicted for kidnapping, rape. Khalid Khan from Afghanistan. That's why they want to talk about Epstein and not what's happening in their own states.
Thank you, General, and thank you for being here. And this has been quite a spectacle to observe today. I think it's sad. I ran for Congress because I thought we had serious problems in this country we wanted to try to fix together. And this performance today, not yours, General, but some of my colleagues, has not shored up my confidence that we are up to the
Oh,
task.
God.
You and I served together for 8
been a
years when
serious
you were Attorney
issue.
General of Florida and I in Kansas. You served professionally.
They
I'm
are
glad to be
screaming
able
to
to
the
serve with you in
world
these new
that this
roles,
is
and I'm
okay in
glad you're
America.
there, both generally and today. Part of the reason I ran for Congress is because in my former role, I saw in the real world, in my state, the consequences of failed U.S. immigration and border security policy. And I'll spare you the lengthy recitation, but let me give you the short version. I sit here and think about a fellow who was running, I believe it was drugs for the cartels, and shot a police officer in Oklahoma, drove across the border into my state, kidnapped an old man, and then invaded a house and shot at cops before we ultimately neutralized him. He's in prison now for, I believe, the rest of his life. I'm thinking about a drunk driver who was in our country illegally, never should have been here, and one night killed a young deputy on southern Johnson County, Kansas, who was making a traffic stop on another individual. Drunk driver ran into him, never should have been here, shouldn't have happened. Thinking about a guy who was deported repeatedly, came back and ultimately murdered, I believe it was 4 people in Kansas City, Kansas, and then fled to Missouri and killed a 5th guy. He died in prison. I'm thinking about a guy we prosecuted who wasn't supposed to be in this country, who raped a child in a little rural county up north on the Nebraska border, and we sent him to prison for, I believe, the rest of his life. Thinking about a guy who wasn't supposed to be here at all, who murdered, I think it was his wife or his domestic partner in an act of domestic violence in northwest Kansas. Thinking about another guy who was here and joined up with some folks who were citizens and committed a crime spree and then thought he might get caught, so he killed one of his accomplices. And we sent him to prison for the rest of his life. And that's just the ones I'm thinking about sitting right here. And you know what's common in all of those? They all committed violations of my state's law. They were caught by my state's law enforcement. They were prosecuted by my state's prosecutors. They are serving time in my state's prisons. And if and when they ever get out, the United States has said they need to be sent out of this country because of what they did. There's a list, you're holding up photos, General. There's a list on the Department of Homeland Security's website. It has about 280, 290 people like that in my state of Kansas. And you know what? We haven't made headlines like Minneapolis. We haven't made headlines like Memphis. We haven't made headlines like Los Angeles. And you know why? Because our cops are professionals and our politicians, by law, allow them to do their job and to work with federal agents for safe handoffs in order to do everything that's supposed to be done, justice under state law, and the justice of deportation on the back end. So I want to do something that's been rare here today, General. I want to ask you about public policy. Donald Trump won't be president forever. I would like to lock in some of these gains we have made in public safety. Should we be exploring the idea, for example, of beefing up 287G partnerships, or maybe replicating that so that state prosecutors can work more closely with federal prosecutors to get deportation orders as well as state convictions?
Absolutely.
In terms of sanctuary jurisdictions, when a sanctuary jurisdiction says as a matter of politics, go pound sand to the feds, we won't honor your detainer, so they release those people I'm talking about into their communities. And those people commit another crime of property or violence against citizens. Should those citizens have some type of civil redress against the jurisdiction that as a matter of public policy turned those people loose who created the new victims?
Yeah, and Congressman, it's risking the lives of all of the citizens of that jurisdiction.
And you've been sued a lot, or the administration has, by folks who don't like your policies.
Hundreds of times.
You've won many of those.
Yes.
Isn't it the case that the law says under Rule 65 that when you win those and there's a wrongfully entered injunction that there's supposed to be a monetary remedy for that, so there's a cost?
Yes.
And didn't the president direct you and other agency heads to start seeking bonds in those cases?
Yes.
And should we beef up the law in that area by codifying that requirement going forward?
I would love to discuss that with you.
Thank you, General. Thank you for being here.
Gentleman yields back. Well done. Some of the questions he raised, we plan on taking up in a markup in a couple weeks on the whole sanctuary jurisdiction issue. With that, I recognize the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Attorney General, for taking the time to speak with us. We certainly really appreciate it. I've got a series of questions for you that we can get through pretty quickly, I think. Can you tell me, is it true that the Biden-Harris DOJ raided President Trump's home?
They did.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ allow Jack Smith to spy on over a dozen Republican members of Congress?
Absolutely.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ seize the phone of a sitting Republican congressman?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and Jack Smith pay at least $20,000 to confidential human sources to provide information on President Trump?
At least.
At least. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and FBI fail to apprehend the suspect who placed pipe bombs near the Capitol ahead of January 6th?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ target parents as domestic terrorists?
Absolutely.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ target pro-life Catholics, going so far as to interview a priest and a choir director?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ send FBI SWAT teams to arrest pro-life advocates with no criminal histories?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ use the FACE Act to target pro-life advocates while it allowed anti-life agitators to vandalize, destroy, and firebomb pregnancy resource centers and churches?
Multiple times, I believe.
Multiple times. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ ever determine who leaked the Dobbs decision?
I can't discuss that. No, under Biden-Harris.
Got it.
No.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and FBI target whistleblowers
She just
for
had a Freudian
revealing
slip.
waste, fraud, and abuse within the department to Congress?
Not to my knowledge.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ refuse to say whether it coordinated with Alvin Bragg, Fani Willis, and Letitia James in their lawfare against President Trump?
They refused.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ slow-walk the criminal investigation and prosecution of Hunter Biden?
That's an
Repost the space,
understatement,
please,
in
bottom
my
right corner.
opinion.
Yep. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ determine who brought cocaine into the Biden White House?
They did not.
They did not. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ cover up the
Well,
extent?
as far as we know, they did not.
Right, that's right. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ cover up the extent of the Russia collusion hoax?
Absolutely, in my opinion. Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ, seek leniency from a federal court for an IRS contractor who leaked sensitive tax information on over 7,600 Americans, including President Trump?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ sue Texas because the state wanted to secure its own southern border?
Yes.
And finally, did the Biden-Harris DOJ attack SpaceX for hiring too many Americans?
I believe they did.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and I appreciate that a lot of this is being cleaned up under your leadership. So thank you for returning the DOJ back to its core focus, which is on the rule of law. And I think that we see the results of that. I've got a few more similar questions for you. How have, over the past year since President Trump has been in office, how have murders trended in the United States?
Since President Trump has been in office, the murder rate has dropped to a historic 20% drop in the national murder rate, lowest since 1900.
20% drop in 1 year. That's incredible, isn't it?
And that's thanks to the incredible men and women of law enforcement, FBI, DEA, ATF, everyone working together to solve violent crime, along with our sheriffs, our local law enforcement, working as a team throughout this country, and our great state and federal prosecutors.
Yep. And how have robberies trended? Have they gone, even if they've just gone up or down?
Robberies, all violent crime, all violent crime has decreased, as well as robberies.
So murders, violent crime, the country is more safe now, it's fair to say, would you agree, than it was a year and a half ago under Joe Biden?
Absolutely, and Director Patel is working tirelessly to catch those, I'm sure you've been seeing, on the most wanted list. He and Deputy Director Bongino from day one said, we're going to get the most wanted list, and that's what's been happening, working hand in hand with all of our agencies.
Yep. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you for the work you've been doing to refocus the DOJ again on doing your core job. We're very happy with it, and I'll yield the remainder of my time to the chairman.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. I would just say earlier one of the Democrats said that they said who who are you, who you are, and I think you're the Attorney General who I think on the first day disbanded the FIDF, first day on the job, rescinded the memo that required spying on parents that Mr. Garland had issued, and stood up the weaponization working group. I think you did that all on day one.
Day one.
Not to mention, you're the first Justice Department that's put in place, as we've talked about earlier, this Deputy Attorney General for combating fraud. So we appreciate that, and of course, all the things that Mr. Gill pointed out with the crime stats that have went down. So our last questioner today, but not the least, is the gentleman, oh, I'm sorry, we're gonna have two more. We got Mr. Onder and then Mr. Baumgartner. So Mr. Baumgartner, well, let's go that way since you're here. You're ready to go. Mr. Baumgartner, and then we'll come back to Mr. Onder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi. You know, being a freshman on this committee, you always get a bit surprised, I guess, even 1 year into my term here, how theatrical days like this can be. But I think you've performed well today and answered the questions well today, and that's a credit to you and appreciated by the American people. You know, the Epstein issue is certainly important and is important for the victims. I think both I and the American people have a little bit of trouble taking the Democrats super seriously on this issue when they have been so uncurious about President Clinton's relations with Jeffrey Epstein. And even myself, I had no idea that there was actually a sitting Democrat congresswoman who had taken substantial campaign donations from Mr. Epstein, only when that came to light on the floor with the potential resolution. And you would think there would be more outrage on those types of things if they were going to be taken credible. But we do know the performance value of what goes on in this committee. I want to talk about the big things that Department of Justice is doing. And when I look at the dramatic decrease in crime in this country in the last year since the Trump administration has come, you'll see the board behind me. Violent crime plummets across major U.S. cities. And I guess so my first question would be, and when it comes to the big stuff, how are you guys getting this stuff so right? What contributes from your perspective to this dramatic decrease in crime in major U.S. cities under the Trump administration?
When I first took office, I met with all of our agencies. And the one thing that stuck with me, that one of the heads of the department said to me, one of the law enforcement department heads, President Trump has taken the handcuffs off us so we can keep the people of America safe. And that's what he's done. He has given our law enforcement officers the tools that they need and the backing that they need, the support that they need to combat violent crime and all crime throughout this country. And, you know, I'd be remiss, we've talked about the FBI, we've talked about DEA a bit, but can I please brag about ATF? Rob Cicada and Dan Driscoll, of course, who has been our acting head of ATF, have done a remarkable job stopping guns from flowing into Mexico, not harassing gun owners. 26,965 violent crime cases have been initiated, including more than 4,300 firearms trafficking cases. More than 1,200 of those are tied to gun trafficking in Mexico. I talk to them almost daily.
Thank you.
And they're working so hard.
Well, thank you, Attorney General. Again, you know, I look back at this last year, and we've had this historic tax cut. Yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, the National Cancer Foundation ran full-page ads thanking Congress, the administration, for doing more for cancer research than has ever been done before. I was just meeting with Habitat for Humanity out in the hallway, and they came and thanked us for doing more that's ever been done for Habitat for Humanity. So there's been so many accomplishments, but I really think this crime is the biggest deal of all. But I do have some concerns on this issue, and those also are respect to how we keep people safe with sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And I remind everyone, and as I'm sure you know, Madam Attorney General, that when we had the terrible terrorist attacks of 9/11, the #1 recommendation of the 9/11 Commission was to reduce barriers between all levels of law enforcement. They specifically pointed to things like fusion centers Joint Terrorism Task Force and getting local law enforcement and federal law enforcement to work together and communicate on a regular basis. And I would just like your perspective, because we have a more complex global threat than any time since World War II. We still have Islamic terrorism. We have spies from China, Iran, Russia, all these things. And what does sanctuary cities and states do for communication law enforcement? How does it make us less safe?
Sanctuary cities and states are attempting to prevent communication among all the law enforcement agencies. And of course, that's keeping all of America less safe, especially when the violent criminals are fleeing to those jurisdictions because they believe they're protected. But with all of our joint task forces, I see it every day, Congressman, how well, despite what these liberals are trying to do, Donald Trump's administration is working tirelessly to protect all of Americans, and all of our agencies working hand in hand to keep America safe.
Well, you guys are getting the big stuff right. You look at that decrease in crime across the country, you ought to take a victory lap. Well done.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here on this long day. And I want to thank you most of all for your leadership in your whole career defending victims. And now I want to take a moment to talk about you protecting victims from a different kind of child abuse, that medicalized child abuse that goes under the banner of gender-affirming care, that far too many of my Democrat colleagues enthusiastically support and unapologetically support. Shortly after returning to office, President Trump signed an executive order directing HHS to review the clinical evidence and determine whether sex-rejecting interventions caused more harm than good. HHS reached the same conclusion that the UK and Finland and Sweden reached, that the risks are serious and that imposing this so-called care on minors was not appropriate. This executive order also directed you as Attorney General to, quote, work to draft, propose, and promote legislation to enact a private right of action for children and the parents of children whose healthy body parts have been damaged by medical professionals practicing chemical and surgical mutilation, which should include a lengthy statute of limitations. Last September, you transmitted that bill to Congress. It has been my honor to introduce that bill as the Chloe Cole Act. We named the bill after Chloe Cole, who sat where you're sitting just a few years ago on her 19th birthday. During a hearing chaired by now Speaker Mike Johnson, I'd like to play a clip of her testimony that day to remind us of our story.
On to puberty blockers and then testosterone. The resulting menopausal-like hot flashes made focusing on school impossible. I still get joint pains and weird pops in my back, but they were far worse when I was on the blockers. A month later, when I was 13, I had my first testosterone injection. This caused permanent changes to my body. My voice will forever be deeper, my jawline sharper, my nose longer, my bone structure permanently masculinized, my Adam's apple more prominent, my fertility unknown. I look in the mirror sometimes and I feel like a monster. I had a double mastectomy at 15. They tested my amputated breast for cancer. And I was cancer-free, of course. I was perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong with my still developing body or my breasts, other than that, as an insecure teenage girl, I felt awkward about it. After my breasts were taken away from me, the tissue was incinerated. Before I was able to legally drive, I had a huge part of my future womanhood taken from me. I will never be able to breastfeed. I struggle to look at myself in the mirror at times. I still struggle to this day with sexual dysfunction. And I have massive scars across my chest. And the skin grafts that they took of my nipples are weeping fluid today. And they were grafted into a more masculine positioning, they said.
Chloe testified that day that what she needed was mental health therapy, but she never received it. And she was not suicidal until after they did these horrible things to her. She pleaded with Congress to act so that future children would not suffer what she did. Last week was a major turning point in this for these medical malpractice claims when a detransitioner was the first to successfully hold doctors liable with a $2 million settlement for what they did to that poor girl. Just days later, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons announced that they would no longer do transgender surgeries on minors, in the AMA followed suit. This proves that if the bill your DOJ drafted were passed into law, these barbaric practices would end immediately because all victims would be able to hold those who harm them accountable. Could you share with us a little bit about your work in advocating for victims like Chloe and what a private right of action would mean for victims like her and their families?
Yes, and first, Congressman, thank you for championing this bill. And also to Chloe, what a brave young woman to come before this body.
Yes.
And
at age 19.
At age 19, and talk about what happened to her. It's not about just giving relief to children who have been harmed. It allows victims whose healthy body parts have been damaged to seek relief and obtain relief. And thanks to you, and we are proud to work hand in hand with you on this issue. And I think it's pretty sad none of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle even brought that up. But I hope they support this to protect all children throughout this country.
Well, General Bondi, thank you so much to you, to your department, to President Trump. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
I've just saved some UC requests for the end, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you kindly. Record low crime during the Biden-Harris administration. Crime down in every category in 2024 under Biden. FBI report says Trump takes credit for violent crime drop where rates were already falling. From NPR, Trump administration targets ATF with plans to cut jobs and ease gun restrictions. And then a few oldies but goodies, I've introduced these before about the claim that we didn't have anything to say about Epstein before the Trump administration. Raskin joins call for Attorney General to reopen Epstein case and publicly release Acosta misconduct investigation in documents March 1, 2019. Oversight Committee plans hearing with Acosta on plea deal with Epstein, July 10, 2019. And finally, 68 House members call for resignation of Labor Secretary Acosta, July 10, 2019.
Without objection, Attorney General Bondi, thank you for your service to the country. And thank you for being here for a long day. We appreciate your willingness to come and answer our questions and the great job you're doing for our country. And I got one thing I got to say. This concludes today's hearing. We thank our witnesses for appearing before the committee. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days to submit additional written questions for the witness or additional materials for the record. Without objection, the hearing is adjourned.
What a joke, dude. Both parts just making it partisan. I'm so disappointed with both sides, to be honest with you. I don't even know where to start. It is so frustrating. It is so frustrating for to watch them do the same thing over and over again, term after term, where you have the incoming or the new administration blaming the previous administration instead of answering questions. Over and over again, when Pam Bondi was asked about the Epstein files, she would say, "Why aren't you talking to Merrick Garland? Why aren't you talking to Merrick Garland?" Well, you have been in office for over a year now, okay? We are tired of the kick the can down the road. We did not vote for that shit. I did not vote for that shit, right? These partisan games, it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans, it's Trump, it's Biden. I didn't vote for that shit. We voted for change. We voted for accountability. I thought it was amazing that the victims of Epstein were standing behind her, and she did not deny once that they haven't been talked to, that they're not being listened to by the FBI or the DOJ. It's incredibly aggravating, man. I'm so tired. I'm over it. Go ahead, Noxie, sorry.
Basically every Republican that was there today on the Judicial Committee completely ignored the Epstein files. The only one that said anything and questioned about the Epstein files was Thomas Massie. The Republican Party is screaming loud and clear that there is no room for me in this party, that the survivors don't belong in this party, victims of sexual abuse do not belong in this party, because they refuse to stand up for us, they refuse to protect us, they refuse to protect our children. I am so disappointed that Thomas Massie is the only one up there that had any concern with the victims that were sitting right behind Pam Bondi, in front of the victims' faces. They were doing this. No concern, no questions, no empathy, no nothing. I don't belong with these people anymore. And that is heartbreaking after somebody that has fought for so long for this party, for somebody who fights in my own state for my party. I am so heartbroken for every one of. Can you imagine how those victims feel sitting in there right now? They were blatantly asked, do any of you feel that the DOJ or the federal government has your back right now? And not one of them raised their hand. What kind of country are we where women who were violated as children do not feel any support by our federal government, that we cannot get any justice? And we heard so long as Republicans about whataboutism and how it was a weak argument. And that is all we got from Pam Bondi today. Well, what about this? And what about this person? I don't care. You're the one that it is your job to do it today. It is your job to do this and to hold these people accountable, and you are absolutely failing. I don't care if 100 people failed before you. It is your job right now. And if there's any survivors that are listening in this audience, my heart goes out to you. Not all Republicans feel this way, and I am so sorry that this is what America is standing for right now. This has to change. This is unacceptable, and we have to keep fighting. I support Massie. I'm even stronger right now to come out and do what he's doing. I applaud him tremendously, and I hope you all will comment on his post, send him a campaign contribution, donate to his campaign or whatever. We need people that will stand up and fight for what's right and ignore the party lines. This isn't partisan. This is women and children. This should be something that all Americans can come together and say, this is not acceptable in our country. And we need people that can do that. And right now, the Republican Party is showing me personally that they're not able to do that, that they're going to fight in their party for what the party is standing for, and regardless of what it means to sexual victims of sexual predators, and it's gross. So I'm so angry right now, and I have cried. I have been heartbroken. I don't even have words for how disgusted. This is not what America stands for. We are not home of the pedophile protectors. This is not us.
We're on YouTube, Noxie, so let's dial it back a little bit. But yeah, your rage or your anger is justified. Numerous examples. Like, how do you? Here's what was like blowing my mind. She is being asked. Okay, you have the AG Pam Bondi being asked about whether or not Howard Lutnick was questioned by the DOJ about his ties to Epstein. And her response was, well, you didn't condemn anti-Semitism. What? Like, what is, how does asking Howard Lutnick about his lies, because he came out in two interviews, last year, and said that he one time only he met Epstein, and he was never going to be in the same room with him, associate with him, do business with him, socialize with him, not even for philanthropy, right? And then it comes out, in the files that he had an ongoing relationship with Epstein after his 2008 conviction, right? And not just socially, but also through business, right? He had business ties with him. He had gone to his island with 8 kids. 8 kids. He took 8 kids to his island and his wife preempted it with a specific itemized list of how old each child was that they were bringing to the island. Who does that? Who does that? Who takes their two families of 8 children to Epstein Island and then preempt it with an itemized list of a 7-year-old to 11-year-olds, 14-year-old, a 16-year-old? Like, that was so strange to see, after he had lied to us. So I think that the questions about his relationship with Epstein are justified, and that her response, injecting anti-Semitism into the conversation, actually, you are creating, it was a woke response. That is identity politics. You are doing what we have accused the left of doing for a decade now. You're doing the very same thing. I'm not okay when the left does it. I'm not okay when the right does it. You're going to deflect. You're going to deflect accountability for Epstein with anti-Semitism. I'm not on board with that, man. This is extremely disappointing by the Trump administration. Go ahead, Maze, and then we'll go to Mick.
Thank you. I agree with you 100%. Like, one of the things that she did with her little meltdown after being asked, clearly, how many have you indicted of the co-conspirators? She has a meltdown and basically deflects, which is the key word that you used, about how we should be paying attention to the Dow. Bitch, fuck you and the fucking Dow. Sorry, I know it's daytime, but I was livid. Like, what? Is that what it's all about? It's about how well the financial markets are doing. You care about that more than you do about kids, about like people that are literally fucking just
We're on
depraved
YouTube,
human
Maze,
beings.
and it is daytime, so can you dial it back a
Sorry.
little bit, please? Thank you.
It flies out and then I try to catch it and then it was already out. But yeah, so I feel like that's all she did. She wants to highlight all of these achievements that the administration has made and completely bury all of the just horrific, demonic, crazy news, whatever, that's coming out in the Epstein files.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
I listened to a lot of it, not the whole thing, no.
Yeah, I missed like half of it too this morning, so I don't blame you. Go ahead, Mick.
Thanks, Dilly. Thanks for having me. I believe that moment of when she essentially said that watching the Dow is more important than essentially catching pedophiles will be the defining moment that will haunt Pam Bondi for the rest of her life. How you can say that publicly recorded in front of your House committee and openly justify that comment is insanely wild. It is crazy to even think that you can defend that as an action or say that that's what the people should be focused on. It is not a left or right issue. And Massey was correct in saying that this goes back all the way to George W. Bush's administration. And the fact is, it doesn't matter what was in the past. It doesn't matter what was in like last administration. What matters is you're the AG now. It is your administration now. It is your job under the party that defined, that went to an election that said to you all when you voted, we are the party of the rule of law, and you can't even send one of these people before the courts. You can't even arrest one of these people. Yet in Europe, in the UK, there are people falling on their swords, and there are going to be cases reopened. But somehow, some way, in the land of the free, if you are somebody that attended this island and you were a freaking pedo and you mucked around with kids, right? You're going to walk off free and nothing's going to happen to you. It is insane that in
Not
your
even
country
asked to resign, Mick. Not even asking Howard Lutnick to resign. It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's allegations that, I'm not going to repeat what I've seen, but allegations that he's so high up that he can't be touched within the administration. That's what some are saying. So to what extent you follow that through on, that's up to your own to make those distinctions yourself. But how nobody, not one person, this is almost like watching the GFC all over again when nobody goes to jail. And you know what's going to happen? They all get bailed out. They're like, oh no, we're gonna turn the page. The administration already said yesterday or the day before that we're turning the page on this. You still haven't got all the files yet. Not everything's been released yet. There's still a certain section to come out. How can you turn the page on this? It is blatantly insane that there are people, there are criminals that are going to be walking free, and some of you one day are probably going to get done up on a charge for literally saying something for wrong think. It's incredibly insane. I'm sorry, but
That's already
something
happening
needs to
now.
change.
That's already happening now. They are arresting people for cyber stalking and cyber bullying. Okay, there's been, I think it's between 7 and a dozen cases of it since AG Pam Bondi took office. So that is already happening. And what I think is interesting is I have started to see right-wing influencers posing like what's typical, like online battling between the left and the right, posing it as high cyber stalking or bullying, right? Using a particular language that way, it's like it's a red herring. They're preemptively setting the stage so that the DOJ can go after dissent, and even within the left or the right. For example, a bunch of right wing influencers, well, right wing, right, right wing influencers going after me for my speech over Charlie Kirk's assassination. Tried to label me as Antifa adjacent, which is, I don't even know what that is, right? But what's is funny about that is that shortly afterwards, Antifa put me on like some kind of hit list with right-wing media influencers, right? So with a picture of my face and watch out for this guy, I'm a Nazi, whatever, right? And so what I see is that the new right, and I don't think these people are right wing, right? Like right wing people typically, maybe I'm wrong, right? But conservatives, here, let me rephrase. Conservatives seek to conserve our rights, all right, that are protected under the Constitution. That means freedom of speech, freedom of religious expression, right? And what I see more and more is that they attack these things. If you say something that they don't like, then they want to silence you, they want to jail you, right? They want to cancel you. They're acting just like what I didn't like under the Biden administration. So I wasn't a fan when the left did it. I'm not a fan when the right does it. And we can't the wrong think. You're so right about that, Mick, man. Australia has been through it. You're under it now, right?
I have to actually be careful what I post online now, that I have to actually use facts and the correct terminology to essentially not get a knock at my door from the Australian Federal Police or the police of my state, which is Victoria. But in saying that, anyone that right now, you guys really need to pay attention to this, right? And I hate using that phrase, pay attention, but anyone that's attacking essentially Thomas Massey over the fact that he's not releasing names. He said he's going to release names, or that he's attacking AG Pam Bondi. In my view, and this could be seen as extreme, but they deserve the rope as well. To be honest, like there is no how you can even come to the terminology that you need to attack a Republican congressman that's on your side and is the reason that these files got released to begin with, right? That forced the administration pretty much into a corner that these files needed to come out. But you're going to attack the one guy that's giving you this, and now you're saying, oh, well, he's not reading the names now. He's not delivering like he said. Right? He's already delivered more than what he's already promised on, than what any other Republican actually wanted, apart from MTG. So, as far as I'm concerned, they join everyone else with the rope as well. They can join the co-conspirators with the rope as well. It needs to change. There needs to be a really big, severe change in the American political system, because, like Australia, you got a two-party system, right? You've got no alternative, right? So something needs to give. But as far as I'm
And they're
concerned,
obviously weaponizing that against us, right? Where, oh, I can't care about, the establishment peds getting away with it. Otherwise, I'm siding with the Democrats. right? This is the trap of the two-party system where they try to say, oh, well, if you stick to your principles, like, I am definitely not on board with child gender mutilation, right? That's why I got political in the first place. Maze knows the very first time I spoke in a space, I was telling my story about fighting that crap for my kid. Well, I hold kids sacred. I want to protect our children. That's why I got political at all. And so now all of a sudden, if I stick to my principles on that, it's a Democrat hoax, or I'm siding with the Democrats, or I'm trying to destroy the party. No, you do the right thing. You protect kids. Zero tolerance for any of that. It doesn't matter if it's on the left or on the right.
I agree with that, Diligent, 100%. It's just disappointing for an administration like, the one that so many advocated for, particularly yourself and many others, that you campaign on the premises of the rule of law, but then you don't follow through. So it seems like it's rules for me and then rules for thee. So it's very disappointing. And that hearing should not be a measuring contest by any shape or form. It should be the part of getting real answers for yourself and for the world. Like there's Australians that are implicated within those files. Former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd was implicated within those files. He had dinner with Epstein. So and he's resigning and his term's coming to an end, but he announced that prior to the files being released. So whether he knew that the files were coming out, his name was going to come up, and he preemptively resigned prior, that's up to my fellow constituents and Australians to make up their own decision making on that as well. So it is a worldwide reaching, scenario. It is not just an American thing whatsoever. It impacts pretty much every sphere. It impacts pretty much every sphere of the globe. This whole scandal. So, thanks for having me, Diligent.
Yeah, has there been any fallout? I have to ask because there's been like a dozen countries worldwide that have either opened investigations into people associated with Epstein within their government, or have forced resignations, right? Or are calling for resignations, or have even jailed, right? Has there been any fallout like that in Australia? And I think it's important to note that one of the most, or the most vocal Epstein's victim, and I would say survivor, but she died, was Virginia Giuffre. She got suicided in Australia.
Yes, suicided. Yes, suicided indeed. To answer that question, the biggest high-profile scenario is former Prime Minister, which was U.S. Ambassador Kevin Rudd. He resigned, but resigned pre-file release. So whether I said before, whether it was because he knew his name was going to be released of being involved, there is former Prime Minister Paul Keating's daughter that was caught in video footage and photos leaving Jeffrey Epstein's residence, I believe, in New York. I believe that's the case. But the Australian media isn't really picking too much up on it, to be honest. There are certain aspects of it that are interesting to people that are involved within the political sphere. Like Steve Bannon was involved, with donating money to one of Clive Palmer's political funds, the United Australia Party. And then there's also an email from Epstein that talks about that both parties, Labor and Liberal, in Australia, so Liberal being the conservative side, Labor being your left side, let's say, are pretty much identically politically the same, that there is no differentiation. It's a two-party system. So it's interesting that Epstein knows this from his email track record of his files being released, and yet it's not a bigger thing in Australia than what it should be. So it's like I said, it's disappointing.
It's very disappointing because it means that despite our best efforts to get Trump in and end what is an out of touch, very decadent establishment ruling class on the left and on the right, right? He was supposed to end this. It now seems it is more protected and bolder than ever, which is incredibly sad and disappointing as somebody who advocated very hard to get this administration in. it's incredibly sad and disappointing. Go ahead, Ms. Lou. Thank you, Mick.
Thank you, Diligent. Hi, Noxie. Kind of just adding a few things to what Mick said. Mick, you're right on. And one of the most important things you said was rules for thee, not for me. And the reason I say that, and Diligent just brought it up, both sides, left, right, it doesn't matter because it is the elite. It is a class situation, and the class and the money will protect itself and its evil doings because many of them may not have been doing it, but they've been complicit in it. They've known about it. And so at the end of the day, it's a system and it's global, run by the elite power brokers that will do anything in their power to maintain power, whether they're using the intelligence community to do it, whether they're whether they're using the politicians to do it that are supposedly in power. I will say one thing about Pam Bondi and her non sequitur. You also brought this up, Mick, about the Dow, or also when she said, I'm sorry, about the Dow, we know is an elite comment, but when she said about anti-Semitism, that's like a non sequitur. Let me give you a perfect non sequitur sentence, which makes no sense. Do you walk to work or do you bring your lunch? That's a non sequitur. The two things sound like they go together, but they absolutely have no relationship to one or the other. Okay? This is how Bondi communicates. She has been absolutely crappy at messaging from day one. And I'll land with this. May I remind you, Richard Nixon lost his presidency for lying about less than the lies that are being committed now. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we have no accountability, for the establishment here in the United States, even though that's what we were supposed to get. And I don't know, man. I don't know if it's intentional, if this is like a demoralization tactic by our enemies, right? That we feel completely powerless and helpless to right the ship. But it is we need to get really, really angry, right? That's what I feel like, and not like in a violent way, but we are not mad enough. There was this post I saw, and I couldn't tell whose TikTok shared it, but I posted the other day that there was this guy screaming in an airport in Georgia, and he is yelling at the hundreds of people surrounding him. And I love that dude is my spirit animal. Like I completely endorse and vibe with everything that he said. He said, "Y'all are just acting normal. The Epstein files are released, and you're acting normal. They are eating babies. Well, then they are trafficking children. All of this is true. That's what it looks like in the Epstein files, that this is true. All of the conspiracy theories surrounding how horrible the establishment is are true. And we've only seen half of the files. As a matter of fact, we haven't even seen half. We got a redacted version of half, right? Even the congressional unredacted files are redacted in certain circumstances. And they say, well, ongoing investigations, but there is no ongoing investigations because they closed the case. You heard her say that today. It's just, man, I don't know. I don't know if there's any saving it. I don't think there is any voting our way out of this. It's incredibly blackpilling. Go ahead, speak with Edie.
Hey, Diligent and Noxie, thank you guys so much for the space. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for hosting this. I think that that was a total and utter cuck show. I'm angry. I actually called Maze, I'm gonna say like an hour ago and just offloaded. I ended up crying because this is so much. 100% I saw that video of that man who was yelling, "You're all acting normal." And I'm seeing what citizens are doing. They're not going to do anything for us, guys. They're not. They're leaving us out to dry. They don't care about us. If you're not seeing this, I don't know what to tell you. It's a global problem. The Dubins are my target right now to really research into them. He's an American billionaire, and he was on the island. He brought his kids there, and that's the email where the wife goes, I think Chrissy or Kristen, I forget her name. She's having her friends over. The kid was like 5 or 6 years old. What are we doing? Who are we protecting? Why are we protecting these people? There was a video of a couple of really awesome men out in Utah, and they showed up to their public official's office and they screamed their heads off. And they said, "Where is Wexner? We want him. We want him. Where is he? Why are you funding him? Why are you his personal counsel? Why are you doing this while sitting on the boards of our elected official boards? What are you doing? Where is this? Why are you guys protecting these people?" That's how angry we have to get. I, I don't want to say too much about what I'm planning on doing in my personal life, but I think that it's only us. It's only us. We need to show up to our officials' literal offices. We need to make their lives hell. They don't want to talk about this. They want to talk about everything else. The Dow Jones, the S&P, Savannah Guthrie's mom. I hope she gets found in whole and all that other stuff. Right now, everything is a complete distraction. If your focus is not our kids, your focus is not on America. It's not. Your focus is this is still happening. This isn't a past tense. This isn't he's dead, so it's gone. No, these other people are still alive. They're still alive. He was the agent that got burned, right? He's the burned agent. So that's why he's been suicided. I don't know. Some people say he's not. I'm not even going down that rabbit hole, right? But he's the one that got burned. He's gone. Leave out of the picture. The rest of them, they're still very much a part of this. And it spans everywhere. I'm starting to see today, I think it was actually yesterday, Nigel Farage in the UK. He's getting burned. He's getting totally yelled at in whatever speakership he's got, yelling at them. Take accountability. There is accountability almost happening all over the globe, except for here. I thought we were the pillar of democracy. I thought we were the greatest country on earth. I thought we put our citizens above all. But you're telling me that the rest of the world in Europe, they're starting to hold Norway, they're holding their officials accountable, but we're not. What are we doing? What are we showing to the world? We're showing to the world that we've fallen. And that's just angering. So to me, we the people, for the people, by the people, it's time to take our power back because they're not giving it to us. We need it. Thank you.
Taxation without representation. That's where we're at. We were promised something by our representatives, and they are not delivering. Go ahead, live one. Go ahead. Thank you. Speak.
Hi, Diligent. Thank you. Ian here from Live One in New York. So I've been over to the Trump Tower, which is at 57th Street and Fifth Avenue quite a few times. Shot some video there. I'd like to just share with people that inside that development, inside the Trump Tower, is a Gucci store, luxury retailer Gucci, also Louis Vuitton, in addition to the Trump store and a grill. I would like to, I'll speak for myself. If I'm inclined to buy something made by Gucci or Louis Vuitton, there's no way I'm going to buy it from the location inside Trump Tower. Furthermore, if I go to Vegas and decide to gamble or hang out there for a convention, there's no way I'm going to get a room in the Trump building there. Furthermore, any Trump properties in the United States or around the world, forget it. They're toxic. They're off limits. I wouldn't be surprised if other people start blackballing Trump's companies, okay? He wants to play games with other people. I'm not just trying to be tough here or anything. I mean, I just don't want anything to do with his brand. It's disgusting.
Let's bring it back about Epstein.
All right. Well, I'd like to say one thing about Epstein that I don't hear people talk about. Senator Ron Wyden, the Democrat from Oregon, did introduce a bill for getting the Epstein financials. Those are under the control of Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. Bessent has got 3 letters from Senator Wyden demanding that he produce Epstein's financials, specifically what are called suspicious activity reports. Now, I am contacting Wyden's office. I'm going to ask him two questions. One, why haven't you brought it to the floor for a vote? Because this is something you should be doing right now. It hasn't been voted on. Number two, why don't you rewrite your bill so that it includes more than just suspicious activity reports? Specifically, what is that $22,500 check all about? Diligent, you know what I'm talking about? The photo that was in the 50th birthday book?
Of the check to Epstein from Donald Trump.
Right, now it's a prop check. You know, there's always some clown in the room who says something like, that's not Donald Trump's signature. Well, I have news for the people who say that. They're not very bright. Nobody's saying it's Donald Trump's actual signature. It is a prop that Jeffrey Epstein is holding. It's like 3 feet by 2.5 feet, maybe even bigger than that. It's a check made out to Jeffrey Epstein, signed by Donald Trump. It is a prop novelty check. And underneath that photo, which is in the birthday book that Maxwell put together, is a handwritten note that says Jeffrey, showing skills with women and money, sells a fully depreciated, redacted, to Donald Trump for $22,500. I don't think that is what you call a random event or not related to anything. That's Jeffrey getting a photograph of a blackmail and documenting it to torment Trump. And that's another reason why we need the financials, and Ron Wyden needs to rewrite that bill so that we get more than just the SARs. Thank you. Think
Thank
about it,
you.
talk about it. Yeah, people don't talk about it much, do they? Epstein's financials. And Scott Pacent,
We
he's
talk
one
about
of,
it financials all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
well, the bill, I'm talking about the bill that, why hasn't it been voted on, and why aren't people asking it to be voted on?
It got killed in committee.
And it probably, Johnson's not going to allow it to the floor. I mean, the speaker.
Is Noxie rugging?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
I
ahead,
think
Mace.
it'll need the same effort that that Massey's transparency bill used, the 200 and so
Well,
many signatures.
right now we're just trying to get them to fulfill the law of Massey's transparency bill. But maybe we can, maybe Massey can partner with, somebody in the Senate to get that front. But I'll just say this, there's not as much demand for accountability in the Senate as there was in the House. So it's a different ballgame in the Senate. Go ahead, Mace. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes.
hear you.
Loud and clear.
Mace, I don't know if the space is glitching or what, but Christian, go ahead. We can't hear you, Mace. I'll bring you back up.
You know, they are spitting on the face of the American people. They are insulting the intelligence of the American people. Notice how when members of Congress were asking Pam Bondi about the victims, and notice how she wanted to deflect and start talking about all the arrests that ICE has made. That really should tell you everything you need to know. And the reason why the right is attacking Massey is because he's anti-establishment and he's not bought and paid for. And let's just say Trump did in fact commit crimes. Do you really think that Pam Bondi will put charges on him? I'll just leave it at that.
Wait, what was that last question?
If in fact Trump did commit crimes, do you really think that Pam Bondi will put charges on him?
I don't think that. I don't think any of the I mean, they're not. She's not going to charge anybody who committed crimes in the Epstein files. Prince Andrew is a perfect example of that. He has a photos with victims. Okay, no question about it. He is photographed with victims, multiple times. Okay, victims have accused him or testified in court. Verified victims, Virginia Dufresne included, right, have testified in court that he abused them. And instead of saying that she was going to do anything, she dodged, right? So it doesn't matter who it is, if it was Trump or if it was Howard Lutnick or if it was Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, we're not going to see any accountability. I would argue the reason why is because they are afraid of what these people will say if they have to go to court, right? They are containing the scope of the case. If you get Prince Andrew on the podium, right, and he's sworn, and it's either he talks or he goes to prison here in the United States, he's going to talk, right? And they don't want to deal with that, right? They want to limit the scope of this investigation. They want to limit the scope of people who have to swear and testify in front of court, because then it starts to get messy for the individuals or the group or entity that is responsible for Epstein. The system that created him and the system that continues to protect him does not want Prince Andrew or any of these other people to be facing charges, and they're going to be pressured to talk about what they know, right? And it's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. That whole system that created Epstein and protected Epstein, it needs to come burning down, not crashing down. It needs to come burning down. Go ahead, Mace.
So I'm in a parking deck. I hope you guys can hear me. But I was going to say that Trump just now, this past January, less than a month ago, paid $1 million in like the company that Lex Wexner owns in their bonds. Like, did you guys know that? In lingerie. Like, I mean, Lex Wexner was a co-conspirator, okay? Documented co-conspirator. Like, what are you doing? I don't know if you guys saw that. I just came across that last night, but I thought I'd mention it.
I would need more specifics, like on the company and stuff we can look into.
It's the lingerie Victoria's Secret, what do you call it? Oh
The
shit, I'm about to
limited.
do an illegal U-turn. Yeah, so that company, I'll send it to you, but it was like there's so people were wondering about it because it seemed really odd back when he did it. But it just, kind of obviously is resurfacing now with all the Lex Wexner news. But it was like January 16th.
I'll look into it. Thank you. Go ahead, Coyote.
Appreciate you, Jill. This is concerning, man, and this is obviously one of those times like all that like Democrat Republican shit. It's got to go to the side, bro. This is like these people to make that political. What
People
I
are
watched
still at
it.
work and around their kids, so can we limit the
Yeah,
swearing until after
yeah,
5? Thank you. Coyote, you there?
yeah. My bad on that. To see, and I got you on that. My bad. But to see people like make it political, you know what I'm saying? Like all this is becoming disgusting. It sickens me. Like when I'm seeing like just our politicians. I don't know, bro. It's like a dead weight out. I don't know what we're gonna do on this, but something needs to happen. And anyway, I just wanted to come Ben, I think, because that was like Pam Bondi, bro. She's got to go. She needs to go. She's complicit. She's broken the
She's
law.
doing what she is ordered to do, right? She is not the one making these decisions. Right? I mean, she could choose to do the right thing, so that's true, right? But she is doing exactly what they want her to do. Right? She's doing her job. She's doing her
Could you
job.
do that?
She no,
You could. I couldn't
obviously
either.
not. Obviously not.
That's just
They all
sad,
need to
bro.
go.
This is where we're at, you know.
I can tell you this much. I will be telling people not to vote until the DOJ delivers some action on the Epstein files. period. Right? I'll be telling everybody I know not to vote at all. Right? Not for Democrats, not for Republicans, except for to vote for Thomas Massey. And anyone who is supporting this bill or demanding results. So that means Boebert. That means if who's the other one? Even Nancy Mace, like who I don't. She's very fickle, but I mean, pretty much that's the deciding line for me. I'm not a Democrat, so I'm not going to tell people to vote Democrats. However, I am going to point out Democrats who don't make this partisan, right? So if a Democrat is equally for targeting people for investigations, despite their political affiliation, I will note that, right? So that's the approach that we need to take. This is not a political issue. There's a dividing issue here. Either you are against protecting the establishment from Epstein justice or you are for it. And if you are against it in any way, shape, or form, you do not deserve to be in any kind of position of power, authority, or responsibility within the US government. Doesn't matter if you have an R or a D by your name. Okay. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Let's go to Miss Lou and then Godfroy.
Thanks, Dill. Quick question. Do you hear any update on the subpoena, which was posted by Marguerite in your space like yesterday or the day before on Wexner's subpoena? Any update?
No.
It's supposed to take place this month, his hearing.
Yeah, I don't have any update.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. I'm not gonna my expectations are low. So go ahead, Godfrey.
Thanks, Diligent. Yeah, I mean, just more complete gaslighting by Pam Bondi. I mean, when you see stuff like this, like when you see her like talking about the stock market when she's asked about Epstein, like bring up the anti-Semitism card to a congressman who's actually Jewish herself, like it just like it shows that this narrative is on its last legs. It has no gas anymore. They cannot continue this cover up anymore. And I just want everybody to ask yourself a question: like, what did they think was going to happen? What they think we're just going to move on from Epstein? They think we're just going to forget? They think we're going to be reading these emails and be like, oh yeah, it's totally fine, and Todd Blanche covers it up and says there's no sex trafficking going on, and we're not investigating it. And yeah, we'll get past it. Carolyn Levitt will tell you to move on from Epstein at a press conference. I mean, this is just like. I think what is happening is that Washington is like its own castle fortress now, Washington D.C., and they're holed up in their fortress, and they just don't care about the American people anymore because it seems like literally everybody has figured them out. And that's my question: is where do they go from here? They cannot sweep this under the rug. It's not going to work anymore. And I think that gives us a lot of power to put pressure on Congress, to sign petitions, to do stuff like that. So yeah, what do you think, Diligent? What do you think they're going to be brazen enough to just try to get through this somehow, or do you think that they, I don't know, might force to arrest some low-level people just to placate the public?
They are going to continue to make it a political issue, knowing that they can manipulate the party in charge, which is the Republican Party, to go along with it to a certain degree, because if they don't, then the Democrats will take hold. And I think that, I think they think that's going to be the winning strategy here. And I don't think it is. When I ran a poll yesterday on this, I specifically said MAGA. And I think the poll's results are very telling. It's right here. It's up on the screen now. It says MAGA, should U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick resign his position after outright lying to we the people about his ties to Epstein? Let me just say this, my audience is mostly MAGA and Republicans. 94% said yes. 5.9% said no out of 1,800 votes. Okay. So 94% of the poll wants Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to resign for lying to the American people. I think this is a very good indicator of the response you're going to get from the child save the children crowd within the Republican Party. And let me just say this: there's a few Republican uh, House representatives at the state level that follow me, and they responded on here. I'll point out Brad Paquette from, and I believe he is in Michigan. Okay, he's a Republican educator, House representative in Michigan, Republican. Okay, remember Republican. Um, who says this without hesitation, Howard Lutnick should resign. So there is a ton of support to hold these people accountable. Doesn't matter if they're within the administration or not, right? And so if your tactic is going to be to try to convince these people to not care anymore because of you are going to have a horrible turnout. Horrible turnout. As a matter of fact, I kind of am starting to think that they know this and that there might, I've said it a lot. I've said it a lot. I've said it a lot that I believe that the strategy here is for the Republican Party to lose. I believe the strategy here is likely going to be that they are going to remove Donald Trump before the end of his tenure. Based on that, using the Epstein files, I've been saying this. I think that the midterms are going to be a proverbial bloodbath, right? Because of the Epstein files, right? Because I'm not gonna go vote for Democrats, but me not showing up or lots of Republicans not showing up when in a even Donald Trump said it not too long ago that the party in power typically loses during the midterms. Well, if you give people more of a reason not to show up, right? You're going to get your ass handed to you. And that's exactly what I believe they're setting up for. And let me just say this: if they lose enough seats in the Senate, and we already know that they're going to lose the House most likely, he might get impeached. It might actually go all the way through if a few of the swamp creatures jump on board in the Senate. And then we might be looking at JD Vance as president. And that's even scarier for me because he is created by the deep state. You know what I mean? Like he is Peter Thiel's creation. Uh, that's scary to me. You know, I was never on board with JD Vance, not when Donald Trump picked him. He was an anti-Trumper. He compared Donald Trump to Hitler. I'm like, why are we picking this guy? It was after the assassination attempt in Butler. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but ever since Butler, this man has changed and his decisions have changed. And I don't know what that's about, but you can draw your own conclusions about that. But it's apparent that the deep state has and I mean the IC and the establishment and the powers that be have a strategy here. And of course, I'm just giving my opinion. I don't know what that strategy is going to look like, but every day it seems that they continue to make losing strategy. They enact losing strategies, right? Instead of just giving MAGA and the Save the Children crowd, including myself, a little red meat, give me a conviction, give me an investigation, give me a charge. Even at Prince Andrew, he's a foreigner. You know what I mean? Give us a little bit of accountability and like restoke our loyalties, right? Instead of doing that, they are gaslighting, they are attacking, they're smearing, they are lying, and that is they're losing credibility. And I would argue it's intentional. It's a predictable outcome to something that's easily solvable just by taking down a few of the people mentioned within the Epstein files. They charge and convict people with far less circumstantial evidence every day. The federal government has a 95 or 97 conviction rate whenever it decides to go after people. 97% of the charges that they bring against individuals within the United States end up in conviction. Okay. So if they did that just a few times, they would lose or win a whole bunch of people who are on the fence or who are disillusioned, including myself, right? You can win back some of those people, but they're not doing that. And part of me thinks that there is a small part of me that think that's part of the plan, that we're looking at the uniparty doing what the uniparty does, which is swing the pendulum back and forth and like hypnotizing the public of the American people, right? Watch it over here, watch it over here, watch it over here. And instead of uniting on these issues like PEDS, you know, assaulting our children and the establishment getting away with that and protecting it and using it as blackmail, right? And instead of uniting on this issue and demanding justice, they're going to continue to hypnotize the American people with the left and right paradigm pendulum. And they think that that's going to placate us. And and I think that's what's happening here. I think that they want it to swing back to the left now. They've created all the expanded powers and authorities under Trump that are going to be wielded against us when the left takes power again. And I don't think it's me blaming the left. This is historically how it works. You know, the right expanded powers under Bush more than it ever has, and then Obama used it. Same thing under Trump and Biden. It's they're partners. They are a partnership. They are working in tandem against we the people and our interests and our rights, and we have to demand an end to it. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't have, I don't have a solution. I just know that we're not mad enough. We are not nearly mad enough yet. And I hope that we continue to see past the efforts to make this political and actually make some changes because we need to, our country is captured, right? By the establishment, by corporate interests, by foreign interests, and especially by the IC, and we have to liberate ourselves. I don't know what that looks like, but we need to acknowledge that's what's going on. Go ahead, independent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just wanted to make sure first I'm on my desktop. Yeah, well, what a performance by AG Bondi, or better yet, lack there was. Here's the situation. She has personally been bought and paid for, and she's not going to do anything for the victims. So that's number one. The only recourse for Bondi is to be impeached and removed. However, the problem is that there's not enough votes, probably in the House, maybe in the Senate for removal, but not in the House. And until you get to enough votes in the House, she's pretty much going to sit there with that smug look and doesn't care about the impacts of what has happened to the victims of, I call it Epstein and company, right? Because we know now it's company. It's not just him. It's many people in his company. Whether we're talking about Les Wexner, whether we're talking about Jay-Z, obviously Bill Gates, obviously some Hollywood producers, and even, Virgin, as in the airlines. We know that it's a criminal. I call it like a pedo mafia, right? And it has infected itself all the way up to all the halls of DC. And as for Mr. President, he's complicit at this point, right? He's complicit basically in his dealings with Epstein and company, and he's a part of the company. So I don't know a effective way for us to get out of this. I agree with you, Diligent. Pretty much voting is done. You're not going to vote your way out of it. I mean, if you have a good person in your individual inside of your municipality or your state and you want to vote for them, yeah, okay, go ahead and do so. But as for, I'm going to rock with this guy or this gal for president, unless that person is like Thomas Massey, I'm confused on what it is that you're trying to do. Because we have been, and I agree with you, Diligent, we have been captured. And it's probably been over the last, I mean, the pedo ring's been going on for a while, but it has intensified within the last, 20 years. And particularly, after that's when they made the financial, right? They put that spider legs into all things financial. It doesn't matter where you are and how it is that you're trying to escape, whether it's by the dropping dollar, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, whatever else it is. What we learned is that their hands were in all of it, right? Even when it came down to, excuse my French on this, women's underwear and girls' sweatshirts, right? Whether we're talking about justice or we're talking about basically Victoria's Secret, which which makes you have to question at that point what was in the dressing rooms. I mean, I'm just being real. I mean, were there cameras there? Hey, it's not far fetched. So, with that being said, until again, I hate saying this because I sound like a socialist and I'm not, but until the American people is really ready for a true revolution to throw these people out of our government by any means necessary, we are going to be at this weird paradox of a matrix, and it's a darn crying shame. The only good thing is that even though it wasn't initially reported in the media, as talking about traditional media, not like independent media like Diligent, about the Epstein files, it's beginning to creep out, right? And now media is forced to report it. And I thought it was really interesting today. This one thing I did retweet between working is that Gallup has decided, after I guess the president is now in the low 30s, probably more like the 10s, in his approval rating, that they don't want to report approval ratings anymore for the president. I'm just like, really? After 88 years. So, we have to just realize that we have to eventually get to the point of overthrow, and I hate to say this, overthrowing the corrupt pedo protector and pedo-ish government that we have. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's where we are in the United States. And hopefully there'll be an election in November for whoever that do want to vote. But now I question the smugness and the outright just straight up, middle fingering to the American people that want justice for the, Epstein victims. And all of us are victims, really, if we extend it in some way, because he had his hands in everything, and so did his company. Is why would they have elections if they can continue to keep getting away with what they're getting away with right now? So I just want to leave with that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I think they're going to have elections, but they're going to be contentious, to say the least. They've politicized the process. They're talking about having ICE outside of them or whatever, which is, I mean, I'm good with poll watchers. I'm good with paper ballots, all of that stuff, but they're creating more of a fuss than needs to be made, which tells me that they want the fuss, they want chaos, they want the drama. That way they can justify further authoritarian rules on the left or the right. And it really sucks, man. It really sucks. By the way, I am going to be hosting a subscriber only open research session for Epstein and Kirk later tonight, scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern. The link for that is up in the Jumbotron. If you want to support what I'm doing, the best way is by subscribing. There's a pink button on my profile. That's how I pay for all of this stuff. I don't have any sponsors or anything like that. It's what keeps me independent with my opinions and my coverage. Turn all notifications on for my profile. Last week, an ex-employee told me that I was flagged. I was supposed to have a post flagged, ended up being my whole account being flagged, and ever since then, I haven't been able to get any viral content. So I need a collective effort from you guys to help me repost, comment, and like the posts that I make concerning Epstein or Charlie Kirk. I don't care about any of the other posts, but if I'm doing investigative journalist coverage, please help me beat the algorithm by sharing that content. Turn all notifications on. Make sure you're following Noxie and Sally and everybody up here on stage. May, Speak with Dee, everybody else. A lot of them are on Spaces hosts, and we need to support them. Follow me on YouTube. We are live streaming to both YouTube and X right now. You can see me. Hi, here I am. If you wonder what I look like, I am very white, very blue-eyed, and I am sitting in studio right now. So, all of that being said, I just want, I just don't want to have to tolerate elite pedos, right? Like, I don't want to have to tolerate it from either side. I want the Clintons taken down if they need to be taken down. I want Lutnick and Lexner taken down if they need to be taken down. Doesn't matter where they are, who they work for, what party they claim to have. They all need to be taken down. So, all right, we have a lot of hands up. Let's go to Tara Luna. Go ahead.
Hey, Diligent. I have just now recently started following you, and thank you for all of your great work in the Charlie Kirk investigation. And I'm at work, so I'm going to try to not keep it too long. But I was just listening to that hearing, and I could not agree more with what all of you guys have said. I mean, it was major black pill for me, though. And it's just because I'm sick of the right left paradigm. It's clear that they're all in this together. And I couldn't agree with you more on your take with the JD Vance. Like, I'm starting to feel like this is all orchestrated on purpose so that they can roll in JD Vance, and his Peter Thiel backer who's obsessed with the Antichrist. I mean, it, I feel like that's when the surveillance state is going to be rolled in on us. And like you said, it's always a Republican, that ushers in all the great power, i.e., Patriot Act. And then, then comes in Obama. And the scary thing about the left is, they do not lack the courage to go after us. They do not lack the courage to go after Christians. They do not lack the courage to lock us all up immediately, just like they did with the J6. And I feel like all we're doing is just poking the bear. We're not getting these people out of here. We're not implementing any of this into law. And, right before the Epstein files dropped, you had your cat turd and Megyn Kelly and Nick Fuentes and all them trying to start all parroting. Oh, well, they were just barely legal girls. It wasn't really like they were kids, they were barely legal. Well, now that we're all looking at these Epstein files, I mean, no, it's 10-year-olds, it's 9-year-olds, it's 11-year-olds. And like all of our greatest fears and conspiracy theorists have been come true. Like, they're literally eating babies and, the adrenochrome and all of it. And it's just
Where is they're eating the babies. They're eating the adrenochrome. We need somebody with some meme skills to take they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs from Donald
right.
Trump and to change it. I think that would be ultra viral right
Diligent, you're
now.
the meme guy. You can do
You are the
that.
meme king. But yes, I think why aren't we running with this? Because it's true. And you couldn't have stated it better by we're not angry enough. Like, I am from Alabama. I'm sure you can hear by the way I talk. So I am in the heartland in a small county, and I work in a factory with all men. And I come in and I'm just so, disheartened. And I'm sitting here looking at them all. And I'm like, God, what are we going to do about this, guys? And they're all just like, nothing's going to happen to me. So what? Rah, rah, Trump. And I'm like, trying to wake them up to Israel. And like, these Zionists really have a lot of control over us. And look how they call us Goyim. And they just look at me like I'm a loon. So it's just, I'm fearful that we're not there yet. We are waking up in larger numbers, and I'm happy for that. And I hate that, Alex Jones has went off the beaten path because God knows he helped wake plenty of people up. But it's just, I fear we're not woken up like we think we are. Those that of us that are on X, we're a lot more woke up than most normies. Because I'm like the only person at my work that even has X. They're like, X, I'm on Facebook. I mean, because I really am in the heartland with the country bumpkins. We're not big city life, big IT folks. And we just need to all pray. And I commend your work and all of the people I'm seeing on this space because I've been recently following Maze, and God bless you guys for your work. And I'm gonna hop off, but I I agree. We couldn't be any more angry. We're not voting our way out of this, and let's not get JD Vance in there. That would be terrible. Thank you for letting me speak.
I agree. Go ahead, Godfrey.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on, I can't remember who said it, but yeah, my worry too is like there's machinations being made that make me worried if we're even going to have midterms. And like when you have the National Guard rolling out like this, you have a president who says he's seeking a third term and a fourth term, and he's saying you're never going to have to vote again. It's just definitely a point of concern. And literally every one of his policies has been designed to alienate the American people, like pushing AI that people don't really want rolled out that fast. All these data centers pushing mRNA vaccines through Project Stargate, engaging in 8 bombing campaigns across the world, potentially starting up World War III with Iran. I mean, I could go on and on. But it's like every one of his decisions, and most importantly, Epstein, that's where he reveals his hand. It's like he doesn't care about
I
elections.
disagree that it's been every
Yeah.
policy. I want to make sure that we're objective here. This isn't just a TDS session, right? He did end the put out policy to protect women's rights as far as men competing in women's sports. He also put out policy that protected minors against mutilation through gender transition, right? So there are numerous examples of policies that he did put out that I do agree with. So I'm going to be I have to push back on that a little bit. However, that doesn't mean that I am going to tolerate what's going on with the Epstein files. I have a zero tolerance policy. So I'm just being fair, Godfrey.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I guess my counter argument would be that he would have to give some low hanging fruit to this base to at least have save some credibility with MAGA and the conservative American in general. But what is most concerning to me is like again, he just doesn't like this is not something you do if you care about elections. Like covering up Epstein like this, telling us it's a hoax, and then having Tom Blanche tell us there's no case when we ourselves can see the emails and know that there's enough to warrant an investigation just by what we've seen here. And it's just like I don't know. It's very concerning that we do have a man who has said I want a third term. He said I want a fourth term, and all this stuff. And then one final point I will bring up, which was very weird at the time. I didn't understand it, but I kind of get it now. Is that company Liberty Vote bought Dominion voting machines, and it's like we still haven't solved the problem with the election in 2020. And I have different takes on that now. But that
I
same
want to keep it on
company,
Epstein.
okay, yeah. I guess that same company I could see him using to flip votes if we did have midterms to save his agenda that nobody wants. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sally.
So much to say. I just really feel like that these Senate hearings are just bread and circus. Yeah,
That
they
was
just go in there.
it was a House hearing.
Oh, sorry, House hearing, whatever hearing it was, whether it's the Senate, whether it's a House, it's just bread and circus every single time. They just have their talking points, they obfuscate, they deflect. There's nothing that really got accomplished
The
there.
entire thing was scripted. They were reading from scripted points. She was reading from flashcards. Not one person up there was speaking from their heart. Not one was speaking from memory. It was ridiculous. Sorry, Sally.
No, you're fine. And the fact that when you're asked about the victims and no one raises their hands, I know that Noxie already said this earlier, but I've been listening and just trying to make sense of all of these things. I know that Godfrey keeps saying that they're going after low hanging fruit, But on January 23rd, 2026, Trump did sign the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act into law. And people are like, oh, that's horrible. Why is he doing that? Because a lot of these girls are turned later to be recruiters and or that run drugs or do different things, and so they have criminal charges, so they're afraid to speak out. So I feel like that this maybe getting some of these lower hanging fruit will allow these girls who were once victims that are now became perpetrators to be able to testify, to be able to name bigger names, and to hopefully put people behind bars. So that is an important thing that I think that people are like, oh, that's so bad. Why is he protecting them? No, they like Alicia Owens from the Franklin scandal. They put her in prison for drug charges and other things because she blew the whistle on politicians. So I think it's a good thing, and maybe we need to be pushing that and making sure people are aware that that act exists, because maybe these survivors are not aware that this is out there. It's just a thought, but good space, Diligent. The whole entire house, whatever,
Zero
was a sham.
tolerance, zero tolerance for what's going on. Zero tolerance, zero tolerance.
I
I'm not gonna accept it from either party.
Can I make a point about Trump and human trafficking real quick? Because I do think it's important to Epstein. I know that Donald Trump has arrested a lot of low-level human traffickers, and I'm grateful for that. Like, that is a good thing. But it's like that was designed to give him headlines and to give him press to make it look like he was here to stop human trafficking. If he was serious about stopping human trafficking outside of Epstein, he would have started to investigate CPS, number one. And number two, he would not have dropped, and I know it's Pam Bondi that did it, but it's his Department of Justice. He would not have dropped the Southwest Key lawsuit. Southwest Key was the number one migrant handling facility in the Southwest under Biden. There was over 150 children who had complaints about being sexually abused. It seemed like an absolute layup of a case. It was brought under the Biden administration because the complaints were so egregious and they couldn't ignore it. And Pam Bondi dropped the lawsuit. Like, that is insane. Like, that is the absolute window into skewering Alejandro Mayorkas and exposing him for the sex trafficking that was going on at these facilities, and he dropped the ball. So even outside of Epstein, we have two concrete examples of him not stopping human trafficking. So
If he was serious about stopping human trafficking, he would have taken advice from like the Flynn Network, America Future. There are so many things that he should have installed a task force dedicated specifically to breaking up these networks. And I know people who were whistleblowers that should have been installed on this task force leading it
exactly.
to break up the network. So I agree with you on this, and this is why I voted for Trump. And I'm very disappointed because he did not take into consideration that people laid out a plan with white papers how to do this, how to save the children after they were rescued. That these things were people have these things in place, but they've never been implemented. No one's listened to them. So no, that was why I flipped. This is why I voted for Trump, and people don't know because I've never had MAGA on my profile. I've always said Trump 2024. It's always been about the border, and it's always been about saving the children and making them whole after that they are rescued and not just sent back to be trafficked in their own country.
You want to respond, Godfrey?
Yeah, no, great point, Sally. And you're right. That's yet another example, like not hiring people like Tara Rodas and what's his name?
Aaron
Aaron
Stevenson.
Stevenson. Yes. Sorry, brain fart. But yeah, and not implementing those policies. Like, I mean, these are things that are huge red flags. And I know everyone focuses on Epstein as we should, but there are other major examples like what we just talked about of him not going after human trafficking, and it's very alarming. Thank you.
Go ahead. Let's go to Nurse Michelle. Go ahead.
Hey there. Thank you so much for letting me come up. I just want to say first to every man that's in this space that's saying that they are wanting to expose what's going on with Epstein, that, for what they're doing that they've been accused of Epstein has been providing favors for the powerful, rich, and famous that were put out, for sale for deviant men who were connected to him. There's this presumption that those of you that are standing against this and are speaking here today, that you are standing up against this because you are among men who are satisfied to have a real flesh and blood woman of your own, and you are feel like that woman is enough or a woman is enough. And I think a lot of the women that are in here that are motivated to stand up against this could be typically women who have been either victims or of someone they or someone they love has been victims of men in their past, and their motivation to advocate for victims like these Epstein victims is, in the forefront. And some women who, who never got justice for what may have happened to them get the opportunity to fight for those that they can help, perhaps because nobody else ever came to help them. And it's a great opportunity to do that. It may come across prudish what I want to say to y'all today, but for a woman, to come up and speak about what I want to say about why this crisis maybe has permeated our society and gone into our political class and the elites, to the point that we're all just disgusted with what level of what is being going on and the level of depravity that has gone on. People keep saying, that it's evolved to the point of, consuming flesh of children. Anyone who wants to judge what I'm about to say is prudish, just know that you're part of the problem. Apparently Epstein, bought his island in the 1990s and started trafficking around 1998 or so. Pornhub was apparently founded in 2017 and has been going for about 18 years. And I'm more than half of 100 years old. So I remember that to be able to access porn in my youth and in my teen and college years and young 20s, that would have involved young men having to go up to usually a man, a clerk at a gas station, and have to face a man, ask for that porn that's for sale behind the desk, and it is covered up by a plaque, and it says Hustler or Playboy, whatever it was, and you could purchase it, and you'd have to put down that money and walk out of there with your porn. But my boys' generation, what has happened to them on my 6 kids watch, I have 3 boys, is immediate access coming right to their Instagram discover page of the most shocking porn, that could be available to them. And they don't have to look for it. They don't have to access it. You can go down the cities of Georgia and any major highway, and they're selling, sex toy stores and, trying to solicit you to come and do that. And this is the troubling reality of how it relates to this, is that apparently the stats say that 75% of men that are professing to be Christian conservatives that are part of, let's say, the Republican MAGA or whatever, they're subscribing to Pornhub and participating in this access to digital porn. And this organization called Covenant Eyes that people can put on their teenagers' phones to make sure that they're not out there looking at things they shouldn't be looking at. They're able to say that 65% of the men that are even on their app are accessing porn on a regular basis. So what does that come down to? Well, what is Epstein selling? Epstein is selling to the rich and capable of purchasing the ultimate fantasy, right? So what is the ultimate fantasy going to be? Who wants that ultimate fantasy? Everybody who's addicted to porn wants the ultimate fantasy because they have already grown outside of what has been ideally put up for the population, created by the creator to be this ultimate incredible paradise experience between 2 committed sex partners that has been successfully attacked by the dark side. This is all about the dark side that has made people believe that, a committed sexual partner is not enough and I've got to get access to something outside of that. And so the eyes and the mind have become addicted to what is available within Pornhub. So the appetite is there. So when something like this comes out in the public and we all wonder, why is there nobody doing anything? Why is nothing happening? Why is justice not happening? When 75% of the men that are professed men that are supposed to be of the good men that stand up for something when evil is present, if they are, wet and watering mouth with the appetite for what Epstein is providing and they want it themselves, of course they're not going to stand up for justice. So the men that are here that are standing up for wanting the justice to come out for the women and men that want to see justice, who want to make sure the victims that are in videos that might implicate them and make them say, well, they look like they're having a really good time. Well, you know what? Survivors of Stockholm Syndrome who are in these kind of situations will do whatever it takes to survive their situation in the hope that they can get out and not have to testify and be seen on the face and be shamed. And when people that are among the conservative right who look at these victims and say, well, look what she had on. I mean, there's a video going around of Trump himself saying that the girl that Mike Tyson raped well, she was outside of his room dancing at 1 a.m. Well, she must have had it coming, is the implication, right? So when we have the people that are the conservatives who condemn the rape victims, who condemn the girls who may have done something that might have put them in the wrong place at the wrong time, or their stupidity or whatever, or their idea, idolization of these men in power. They think, oh gosh, is he going to look at me because I'm so beautiful or whatever, and they end up getting raped. They don't deserve to get raped, but when an idea like that is being put out into our society by the conservatives, then what we have is 75% of men that are useless for helping, because that quote that says all it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. So when you've got when you have 25% of men who are not hooked on porn, and that's all you've got, and they're not out there willing to be bold and brave and do something, that's how we get to where we are, where there's this few minority that are going to do something about it. And we just addressed on my Nurse Michelle Talks podcast on my community space why it is imperative that Gen X people who have children and grandchildren already, that we've got to be promoting homeschooling for the purpose of saving the next generation. We've got to shelter these kids from what is happening in our society and raise up a better generation that is protected from this technology that is intentionally destroying the minds of the boys and men of this society. And not to say that girls aren't addicted to porn too, but it is a predominant problem. And the predominant predators, it looks like within the Epstein groups, are men predators with women who are benefiting from this situation as too, because they want it as well, are promoting this. So I just want to lay that out there. I put in the purple pill several stats that back up what I said about why we do have the problem. And it's because, of course, they're not speaking out, because they're not going to risk their precious not being able to come into their phone anymore, not being able to come in and access what they want to secretly access that nobody knows that they're looking at. So I think that is a root cause issue that needs to be addressed at the mother level. Moms, bringing your kids home, doing what you can to bring up a generation of kids that are protected, grow them up on the farm, keep them away from this digital media as long as possible, and keep them as innocent as possible, as long as possible, and show them by wonderful, amazing marriages that sex is this amazing paradise experience that you're getting inside your marriage, and your marriage is worth staying in and worth selling to the children that it's worth having. So that was the main thing I wanted to say.
Thank you. Sorry, I was making some technical adjustments. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, you're talking about underlying issues in the culture, and acceptance of prawn. And then I'm gonna remember that I'm on YouTube, so I'm gonna try to watch the language as much. But we're talking about acceptance of the objectification of that type of content is really prevalent in our society. But that's a whole nother fight, right? Like I'm gonna try to put the guardrails up as far as children go, and then once we have that guardrail firmly established, I think that maybe we can look at tackling the other ones, because that whole industry also thrives, especially when it comes to minors or near minors. Um, yeah, there's a whole lot of trafficking and stuff that it's really despicable industry in and of itself. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, go ahead, Coyote. Coyote. Miss Lou.
I'm here.
Okay, you going,
Yeah,
Coyote?
yeah. Real quick. I'm sorry. I was
All
trying.
right.
I grabbed my. Are you go ahead? Go ahead. I'll be a gentleman.
Well, that's nice of you, sir. I appreciate it. Um, Encapsulating what that lovely woman just said about the porn industry, I had firsthand experience of it in Hollywood. There is so much money behind it, also like trafficking, and they're all interconnected. So, to your point, this is a spiritual war. And having grown up in the 60s, remember free love? Let's take our tab of LSD. We can sleep with whomever we want. It started way back then intentionally. Okay. This was to take down society and to take down the values of the family. Now, I asked you, Diligent, and anyone else in the room, what do you think is the one thing that will distract people from what I consider to be one of Trump's biggest political malaises, which is the Epstein debacle? I think it's a huge political mistake that could have been righted right from the beginning. But anyway, to your point, Diligent, it's the idea of discovery. They're afraid of discovery. But what do you think is the one incident that will distract all the politicians in DC away from this and put their attention on that? And I'm not talking about an abducted woman in Tucson, Arizona.
What?
What do
A
you
false
think
flag.
is the one, no, not even a false flag, what do you think is the one major distraction that will take all eyes off everything we're trying to expose with Epstein and put it on this other thing with regards to politicians in DC and locally too? Because local will be affected.
I don't know. What?
War with Iran. That is it. That is what will distract. If you look at history, a lot of regimes, a lot of administrations, when they start to get in trouble about a particular thing, and there might be an availability of imminent war, and perfectly, Zelensky is a perfect example of that. Stay in power. No elections. We're having a war. So I'm not saying that they would go against the Constitution in this country that way. However,
Did she just cut out?
Yeah, she did.
no, it's
We
okay. Somebody smacked into my phone.
Are you gonna finish?
That's it. I'm just throwing it out there. The idea
No,
that
yeah, no, it happened last time. Last summer, right in the middle of the Epstein files, is when he carried out the missile strikes against Iran.
the bunker. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So now we have Netanyahu in the White House yesterday, I believe. Wasn't today or yesterday? I don't know. My mind loses time. But in any case, there were no press allowed. It was a very tight little conference. I think we could be looking at kinetic war with Iran. How that looks, I don't know. But I will tell you this. I trust Eric Prince because he knows a lot about geopolitical. And when asked, should the U.S. go to war against Iran? And he gave 3 words: no, no, and no. And I'll land with that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Coyote.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's it. Yeah, we don't need a war with Iran. If they try to pull that or whatever, dude, like we got to find the balance on all this information. I do think a couple of things. I like what the lady was saying, earlier right there, and I think that they're, the mindset of America. We got eggs or whatever. We kind of mosey on into things and become familiar with it. Well, other people, they got like a fight or flight kind of reaction to this or whatever. And that's just kind of what some of the things that I've been noticing with it. But the bigger point is this: it's like, I think that we need to get the mindset ultimately collectively that we don't have to all be. We all have different strengths and we all have different weaknesses and whatnot. Me myself, I'm a fantastic speaker and I'm masculine and I'm all the that defines man. But other people got different kind of things. They're better at this, that, and the other. And on a serious note, it's like we got to utilize that because we do come in this tribe. Like, oh, we all got to do this right here. No, we can send 4 people over there to do that and start just kind of filling things out. I think that's the big part of it. Maybe refresh the Constitution or whatnot. Just something to step forward. I like that poll that you did earlier, Diligent, right there. That's telling. That's an overwhelming majority of a large. Talking about 4 digits right there. That's a pretty substantial amount. But I think this is exactly what it comes natural. Some of these things, whenever whatever it is and stuff like that, and the porn is an issue, and it shouldn't have got like it is now. I walk around sometimes. I feel like my parents, like damn you these kids. It's disgusting. Some of the stuff that is literally available like for just like regular people to buy. I don't even think they'd have to have an ID, and we got to fix that. And it's historically speaking, this happens. I think it happens from time to time. It's nothing to do with any specific event or anything like that. I just think that the world gets down, and the people have to fix it. We the people.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. All right, you guys. my animals are begging to go out, so I don't know if you guys can hear them in the background. I'm going to go for about 9 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up. And then I have a subscriber space scheduled. I'm going to do an open research session where I use Grok and I do all of my deep diving, sleuthing on a video format, so you guys can participate. If you want to join that, the link is up in the Jumbotron. Again, if you want to support what I'm doing, the best way is by turning on all notifications. Over on YouTube, turn that bell icon on. Share this with your normie friends who are not on X. That way they can get alternative media away from the compromised legacy media, mainstream media, and the compromised Con Inc. right-wing media. We need some independent voices out here. And so we are expanding our reach onto other platforms. So share our YouTube link with your friends. We're going to go through the rest of the hands, and then we're going to wrap it up. And again, the space for later, the link is up in the Jumbotron. Go ahead, Dee.
Hey, Del, I'm sorry, I don't see your space for YouTube because I want to make sure because I think this is like new for you to be on YouTube. So what I want to say, if the YouTube folks are listening, guys, make sure you're turning your bell notification on for Diligent, and make sure you're slamming on that that like button, right? Because that brings people in. And we should also, anybody that's on here that's, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I've had technical difficulties during the space with voice glitching and all that stuff. You know, definitely it's a good option to be able to go over there, because it'll promote the algorithm if you do. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm new to it, so still learning, still getting adjusted. I've got people um, helping me in the background, sending me tips and stuff. Really appreciate all of our people over there. Max, you know who you are. Ian Carroll, awesome. Shout out to him. If you guys aren't following Ian Carroll, please go do. He's been willing to speak about all of this stuff as long as I've known him, and he's actually the one who gave me like all of the advice on what equipment to get and how to set up the software and all of that. So Ian, if you're still listening, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Karam, and then we'll go to energy.
Thank you, Diligent, for bringing me up. I heard about I think Michelle was explaining about the whole degeneracy thing. And I think this needs to be understood like on the foundational level, that exactly how it started and where we are right now. So you're really spot on. Thanks, Michelle, for like decoding it for everybody. That this is how exactly it happened. That you started with a porn and it became normalized to a level that everybody just like think that, okay, this is, and now it's gone to such a like endemic level that, some of the people in the society don't think that is out of like, norm. And this is so crazy that we are actually living in a time that people are thinking that, okay, this is normal. That's one thing. And I think, I'm not sure like who was talking about the actual Iran. I think perhaps Sally. This is not going to be the wag the dog situation kind of thing. Like, okay, we want to actually turn the attention away from the Epstein file, and internally and nationally, we're just going to actually, tell people to follow this, and because it's something big is happening, we have to understand like exactly what Iran war would actually cause. 12-day war was nothing, literally nothing. I mean, if this happens and the US actually attacks Iran, it's not just about the Iran. It's actually the whole financial system, your trading, your like everything is going to be affected all around the globe. I mean, imagine that the Gulf is going to be a place where nothing can flow in from or in. So effectively, you're talking about like a, 6.5 million barrel a day, just the Saudi oil won't be able to actually go anywhere. Forget about like a LNG coming out of Qatar. I'm not talking about the kinetic level. I'm talking about the just pure
Still trying to
effect.
keep it on Epstein. If you want to tie it back in.
I know, I understand that, but it's all linked, Diligent. It's all, this is what they wanted to actually control all this. Like, that Sultan guy we were talking about, that he's the Port Authority head who was actually playing around with Epstein on a level that, there's one thing is a pedophilia. Other thing is like you literally, I mean, those videos he actually forwarded to Epstein, imagine like actually what those kids went through. And then Epstein is saying like, oh, I loved it. My goodness, what kind of devil they are. I mean, this is beyond devilish that, just not just the kids that you are actually kind of let them live, but you are actually kind of putting them through the experience which you wouldn't even put through the adults. And then getting this kind of like a feeling in you that, okay, you love it. My goodness. So I know, I understand that, but this is how it's unfolded. And then ultimately it's going to actually have an impact pretty much everywhere all around the world, and they'll be able to actually achieve the ultimate objective. So, I mean, this is not something which we should take it lightly, but yeah, you're absolutely right. But I've seen what he wanted to actually achieve from this. This is exactly what he wanted to achieve, to actually create this degeneracy in our nation, which is going to go beyond, and they can achieve whatever they want from it. So I just wanted to add from that geopolitical perspective, but yeah, please, back to you. You're at the end of the space. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Go ahead, Energy.
Hey, how's everybody going today on this, what is it, Wednesday here in the United States anyways? Mountain, I think I'm in mountain time. So it's about 2:58 p.m. And so, we have to wake up to the severity of the situation. So everyone has to clear their minds, start eating healthy, detoxing all of our organs, our pineal gland, clear it out, because the enemy has been feeding us and doing things to us that have been not allowing for these things to function properly, therefore putting us in a defunct state with the inability to go back to what it is that God has created. We're dealing with an entity that is not of God, but total reverse, upside down and backwards of God. And this is what their goal, and this is what they've been doing. Now, for us to resolve this, it's very simple, because in a sense, you could say that if we were to say for everybody that our DNA is at war with other DNA. See, DNA emits
All right.
frequencies.
Thank you. We're going to reel it
See,
back in.
DNA
Talking,
emits
keep it on
frequencies.
Epstein.
So
Trying to get on
therefore, the
Epstein.
frequencies are
Thank
at
you.
war with one another
Thank you.
to not function properly
Appreciate you.
within, say, diverse.
Appreciate you. All right, you guys. Just want to thank everybody for coming today. We'll definitely be covering more of this next week. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for joining us. We've been trying to live stream this, having some internet issues with Grok. I'm not sure what that's about, but whatever. But yeah, so we'll be back. Let me have Grok do a Spaces recap and then take us out.
All right, quick recap. Voice mode, no fluff. We opened with the Bondi hearing. She deflected. Survivors raised no hands. The Dow got more love than the
Start
victims.
over.
All right, recap. Voice mode, no fluff. Bondi hearing. Survivors silent. Dow praised. Lutnick exposed. Lied about Epstein ties. Took 8 kids to the island. Itemized their ages. No resignations. No indictments. Widens bill. Epstein's financials. Suspicious activity reports. Trump bought Victoria's Secret bonds. Wexner's company. Right after inauguration. Prop check for 22.5K. Blackmail prop? Likely. Porn culture. 75% of good men hooked. Silent because they're complicit. Homeschooling, guardrails. Moms, only firewall left. Global, Red quits pre-files. Keating's daughter in footage. Australia shrugs. Europe reopening cases. Iran war talk. Cyber attack or kinetic. Either way, distraction. We're not voting out of it. We're not mad enough. Yet. All right, that's it. Thanks for being here. Repost the space. Bottom right corner. Follow the host. Turn on notifications. All roads lead to X. Have a blessed day.
We will see you guys over in the subscriber chat later on tonight. Have a blessed night, everybody.
Blessed night, y'all.